Welcome to Write Now Workshop Podcast, where you can write a book and change the world. I'm your host, Kitty Bucholtz, and this is episode 241, Reedsy and Your Publishing Needs, an interview with Ricardo Fayet, coming to you on Thursday, March 25th, 2021. So yesterday was my birthday. Woohoo! I love birthdays. They're one of my favorite things in the whole world. But I can't tell you what I've done because, of course, I have to record this before the day that you hear it. So it's a surprise to me as well. But I will tell you that I took the day off. My husband took the day off because what else is he going to do with his vacation time? We can't go anywhere. And I'm not sure what we did because we probably would have watched some Marvel movies or something like that, except for that we gave up TV for Lent, Monday through Saturday. So yeah, if it's not raining, then hopefully we took a walk. Otherwise, I literally have no idea what we will have done, but I'm going to assume I had a really good time. So hopefully you are doing something interesting, fun. The weather is medium for you. You're not buried in ice or burning up in the heat, depending on which hemisphere you're in. And hopefully the weather is good enough that you can at least get some fresh air outside. Depending on where you are, my thoughts and prayers are with you because it has been a tough year, hasn't it? But I am completely convinced that we can be in control of our mindset to a much greater degree than we often do. So let me encourage you to, when you have a negative thought, to take it captive, ask yourself, is this really the thought that I want to have running through my head right now? If not, nope, then I'm going to replace it with something else. It's helpful to have something else positive in mind beforehand so that you can be like, nope, that's not true, but this is true. For instance, I'll be thinking things like, I'm so tired of working all the time and I never go anywhere and this is just not fun anymore. And then I'm like, wait, no, my job is fun. I do like it. It will be great when I can go out and see more humans, when I can actually hug people. My husband will be glad when I, don't ask him for 14 hugs a day. So I just have to tell myself that's not true, actually. I mean, sometimes, you're in that place where you're just like, but I love my job. I love writing. There are things that you're like, no, this is a good part about life. And you just have to know that I'm going to replace it. I'm going to replace the negative thoughts when they come up. So remember that. And these are the sorts of things that I talk about on the monthly Encouraging Words episodes. So be sure that you're listening to those on the first Sunday of each month so that you can get a little extra pep talk in your life. I have to say, this episode is totally awesome. Like, I really think that you could stop and start it and write down a ton of very helpful information that even if you've never self-published your book before, you can get a great deal of direction as to what to do next. This isn't the only thing that you can do, and it's not the only way to go, but there is so much information here. You will definitely feel like in general what the path should be. So Ricardo is going to be talking to us about his pretty new book that recently came out. It actually came out last month in February. And the fact that it is a free ebook download and chock full of more information than you can possibly digest in one reading. Definitely, it's something that I've just been hitting bookmarks on things where I need to come back to this. I want to come back to that. And he also explains a lot about the Reedsy marketplace, which is basically like going into a big city square where there's a whole bunch of booths and you're like, oh, this is me at the International Food Fair in Malmö. Oh, I definitely want the British fudge. So I'm going to that one. And I remember that there was some sort of jerk chicken, like Caribbean jerk chicken. I know I'm going to go over there. And then mostly I'm going to wander around and see what else there is to see. So in a similar way, you can say, I know for sure I need a cover designer. I'd like to look and see what kinds of things editors are doing and how much that costs. So I can decide, do I want to make a change to the way that I'm editing my books so far? Or maybe haven't had any editing done on your books, in which case you're like, okay, editor first, then cover designer. There's there's all sorts of different things that are available to you there. And these are not people who work for Reedsy, but again, it's like the big city square where people bring in their booth and they're like, this is what I have available to you. So lots of great information that you can get on reedsy.com, a lot of great free information as well. And yeah, also, I was thinking when Ricardo and I were talking that this may still sound overwhelming to some people, or you might just think, okay, but I don't want to do it by myself without any kind of oversight. Like, what if I do something wrong, or I just don't feel like I have time to make a lot of mistakes right now. So I wanted to let you know, or remind you, depending on how often you've been listening to the podcast, that this is one of the things that I do. I do one-on-one coaching for people in the Self-Publish Your Book program, where over the course of 3 months, we meet every week and on a recorded Zoom call, and we go through, this is the thing that has to be done this week, this has to be done next week, then a week after that, that sort of thing. And we get you all the way through the entire process. I've done this for several clients already, and we've had some great celebrations when we get to hit the publish your book button and see it finally go up on Amazon and the other different marketplaces. And it's great because the Zoom calls are recorded. So you can feel free to hire me for every book, but you can just take the recordings and go back through and go, okay, that's right. First we did this, then this, then this. These are the things that I'm going to do next for the next book and the book after that, that sort of thing. So if you're interested in more information, and also you can get my Self-Publish Your Book checklist that's a download that you can fill out on your computer, which is awesome. So you don't have to print it and lose the piece of paper on your desk. As you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, I have a lot of paper on my desk, a lot of paper, a lot of books. So this is nice. You can actually fill it out on your computer. You can get these things and more information at writenoworkshop.com/writing coach. Also, there are transcripts for all the episodes, and there's a lot of great information in there. All the transcripts are available at podcast.writenoworkshop.com. And then you can either go to /episodes and find the episode that you're looking for, or just wander through. And remember, this is episode 241. And then lastly, just a reminder that we are doing seasons now starting in January of this year. So that means out of every 3 months, we'll be doing 10 episodes with 3 weeks off. So this is the second to last episode of this season. Next week will be Irene Hannon as our guest, and then there'll be 3 weeks off, and then the next season will start. So just a reminder in case you're here for the first time and wondering, how does this all work? Also, feel free, if you'd prefer to watch on YouTube, you can just go over to YouTube and /Kitty Bucholtz. That's where the channel is, or just type in the search bar Right Now Workshop Podcast, and you can watch it while you're doing other things. That's sometimes fun for me, but I have to say, if I'm ever watching the YouTube version of Mark Dawson's Self-Publishing Formula podcast on one screen while I'm trying to work on the other, I spend a lot of time going, huh? Oh, wait, no, I want to wait. I'm supposed to be working and listening. That is part of the reason why I listen to a lot of my podcasts instead of watch them, but it is super fun. So remember that you can do it either way, whatever works for you. In the meantime, get out your notebook and pen or your phone app or whatever it is, or just remember to come back to this. There's a great deal of information here, not in an overwhelming way. I think we've done a pretty good job at keeping it organized, including writing a first nonfiction book, if that's something that you are in the middle of or interested in doing. Ricardo also talks about the process of actually writing the book, which is always fun for us writers to hear. So without further ado, here's Ricardo. Today's guest is Ricardo Fayet. Ricardo is one of the 4 founders of Reedsy, a marketplace connecting authors to the world's top publishing talent, from editors to cover designers, book marketers, or literary translators. He's the author of several Reedsy Learning courses on marketing and a regular presenter at several prestigious writers' conferences, NINC, RWA Australia, and the Self-Publishing Show Live, among others. He has also recently published his first book, titled How to Market a Book, Overperform in a Crowded Market. He oversees the marketing for all Reedsy products, Marketplace, Book Editor, Learning, Discovery, and is a big SEO and Facebook advertising enthusiast. Welcome, Ricardo.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, this is great. You and I actually met last year at the Self-Publishing Live show.
That's
Self-Publishing
right.
Show
That's right.
Live. Yeah. uh, yeah. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, SPF. I just want to call it SPF.
Yeah, it's easier. It's easier. SPF Live, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was totally great. I mean, the speakers were amazing. And I noticed in your book, you actually mentioned some of the things that different speakers said at the presentation. I mean, these are people who are making more than a good living, self-publishing and learning to market.
Yeah, absolutely. It wasn't by far my first event, but I still learn new things at every new event, you know.
Yeah.
And the great thing is a lot of events are in the US, but this one was in the UK, so closer to home for me. And also, it brings different people. There were some very successful UK authors in there who had great things to say and perhaps a different perspective from the usual US one. So it was really interesting to learn from them, and obviously to get to network with all these people afterwards.
Yeah, yeah, that was really fun. I now have two new friends in London and a new friend in Austria from that walk in the rain from the event to the pub where we had dinner afterwards. And we get together probably once a month for sure on Zoom or Facebook or whatever. And then we, talk to each other on chat probably 3 or 4 or 5 times a week. So it's fun, the friends that you can make at these events.
No, absolutely. I think it's a great way to network, make friends, know other authors in your genre. So yeah, favorite part of my job is usually conferences. Right now, it's not doing so well, but hopefully we'll be able to go to conferences soon enough.
Yeah, yeah. You and I had talked about you coming to Sweden because you're only in Spain, so it's just a couple hours of flight for
That's right.
the conference that the day after I got home, I was supposed to sign with the hotel that this would be the date and I'm renting out these rooms and then it was lockdown. So we will do that conference later.
Yeah, it's good. It's good you didn't sign.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a limit to how much that you can get to know a new friend when you're having dinner because people are eating and there's lots of people talking. And also the audience may not know you very well. So why don't you give us just kind of a little background, like how did you get into publishing? What's your background? And yeah, how did you get to publishing?
Sure. I always like to say that I don't have much of a background, because I started Reedsy right after university.
Oh,
So my one and only background is in publishing since I started Reedsy. It's been 6 years now, so it's enough to call it a background, I guess. But yeah, I went into publishing because we had this idea for Reedsy, and it was an exciting industry in that we were heavy readers. My co-founders and I were heavy readers. We'd been impacted by kind of the digital change in publishing as readers. We're reading very much. I was reading on my phone. I've almost always been reading on my phone since the Kindle app came on the smartphones. My co-founder Emmanuel was one of the first people in France to read on Kindle. He imported his French Kindle from across the pond. And so, yeah, the question we were thinking about, what does this change for authors? We learned about self-publishing. And then the question was, if people are self-publishing, who does all the things that a traditional publishing company is going to do? You know, the editing, the production, design, typesetting, etc. And we came up with this idea for a marketplace, and it's all been going very nicely since. So I can now say that I have a background in publishing, but before that, I didn't have much of anything.
well, I have to say, you're probably the first person whose bio I've read that says Facebook advertising enthusiast. Those words you don't often see together. So marketing must be something that you just genuinely enjoy, or you wouldn't be doing so much of it.
No, absolutely. I started as CMO at Reedsy, so we decided to split tasks and for me to do the marketing, and I mostly enjoyed it. I don't enjoy all aspects of marketing, but as I mentioned, like conferences, I really enjoy going to conferences. I do most of our podcast interviews, And Facebook advertising and SEO I particularly enjoy because it's very analytical, and I enjoy that part of things. I'm less good probably at writing consistently. But yeah, when it comes to looking at Facebook ads, analyzing, doing some SEO, that's really fun for me. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you guys figured it out pretty quickly that that is not necessarily something a lot of authors would consider fun or easy for them. So you really found your niche.
No, absolutely. That's a big market right now, and it's growing. Assistance for authors on the marketing end of things. We definitely don't have enough marketers on Reedsy to service all the authors that come knocking for them. But yeah, it's hard to find good marketers who are ready to work one-on-one with authors with reasonable rates. It's really tough.
Yeah.
We have some on the marketplace, but it's definitely a growing market, and we're still trying to figure out exactly how that's going to look like in the future. Is every author going to have a marketing expert or someone to run their ads, or is it something that also the authors should really do themselves, because paying for someone to manage the ads on top of the cost of the ads is not profitable long term.
Right.
So yeah, still trying to figure that one out, but there's definitely already quite a bit of help available on our marketplace.
That's awesome. Okay, we're going to talk about that. But first, let's talk about you have written your first ever book. You're a marketer and you said not necessarily as good or as consistent at writing, but as of the time this interview goes out, your first book will have been out for about 6 or 8 weeks. It's out right now when you and I are talking, and I've been able to read it and I really like it. It is chock full of information.
Thank you. Yeah, it took me a while to write it, and that's not something I necessarily enjoyed all the time. So it is the first one in a series, but the next few ones will be coming in the far future, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was definitely important for us to release a book at some point. I was getting tired of going to conferences and people asking me, so what do you write? Because that's the number one question you ask to someone you don't know at a conference. And yeah, I mean, I had a relatively good answer in that. No, I don't write. I'm one of the founders of Reedsy. Oh, I really like Reedsy. Yeah, thank you, etc. But now I can say, yeah, I'm one of the founders on Reedsy, and I've written a book, a nonfiction book. So it's a better answer now. That was the main motivation for writing the book.
Excellent. Well, and also it's something for people to keep in mind. There's all kinds of listeners listening to this show and writing podcasts in general. Some people have a main business that they're happy to keep on doing, and they're writing additionally. And one of the things that works well, and this is what you've done, is you've written a book that will help people to find your business. And it's helpful in and of itself, but it also gives them a direction that kind of can funnel them into your business if they're your right customer, right?
Yeah, absolutely. One of our philosophies at Reedsy is to provide as much educational content for free as possible. So we have free courses, we do free webinars every couple of weeks. We're working on free video courses as well. But there's one format that we haven't touched on, and a lot of people tend to prefer that format, which is books. So we happen to be working in this industry. So yeah, it was time for us to release something. And so I put all the information I had on book marketing into one single volume, and we'll probably be releasing more books in the future, and try to keep as many of them as possible free, because as you said, it's for us, we're not looking to sell books. We're looking for people to find the book and then find out about Reedsy and then utilize Reedsy.
Yeah.
So that's very much a way to support our business, basically.
Now, I think that I can ask you about the book or Reedsy, and we're still going to end up in the same group of information. There's a ton of information in the book, and at the time that I picked it up, it was free. And you're going to always keep it a free download?
Yeah, absolutely. Plan is to always keep it free download. I can't promise that the next ones will be free, especially if we do like in-depth information on Amazon ads or stuff like that, which we need to update every couple of weeks. But
All right.
this one's always going to be free.
Excellent. And it's also available in print for people who like print, right?
That's right. It's not going to be free in print because
Right.
printing and shipping costs. But yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So looking at the general topic of marketing, and and specifically book marketing for fiction or nonfiction. What would you say are some of the key points, the key takeaways, either in the book or at Reedsy Marketplace? Like pretty much just jump in wherever you feel like it. You probably have some things that you're like, these are important points to remember.
Yeah, I think one of the most important points that I strike early on in the book is that you can't do everything, and you shouldn't try to do everything, especially at once. And that's I think the main reason why a lot of authors are overwhelmed at the mere idea of marketing, is that it seems like such a beast nowadays because of all the information out there. You know, blog posts telling you should be doing Facebook ads and Amazon ads, then fellow authors who tell you have to be on Twitter on a daily basis, and others telling you, hey, there's a new platform called TikTok, so we have to be on there. And then, oh, you're not on Instagram, what are you doing? There are Facebook groups also full of readers, so you should be interacting on there on a daily basis. I mean, there are millions of things you could do, and that's a great thing. I mean, that's a great thing with social media, with digital publishing, and digital in general. It's opened up a bunch of new avenues to be communicating straight to readers, and to be marketing straight to readers. But the problem with that is it's easy to get overwhelmed thinking of all the things that you should be doing.
Yeah.
And if you try to do them all, you're just going to burn out. And more importantly, they're not going to work out. So yeah, one of the important points in the book is just pick one or two things that you think are going to work well, both for your market. So think about your readers. Obviously, if your readers are all like teenagers, then you probably shouldn't be on Facebook too much, because that's for older demographics, and vice versa. If your book is a cozy mystery, then advertising on TikTok is probably not going to reach the right demographic. So think about target demographic, but also think about where you're comfortable yourself. If you're not comfortable having a daily presence on Facebook because you hate the platform, don't be on there except maybe to run ads. For me, ads and like organic social media are two different things. If you hate Twitter, don't be on Twitter. You don't need to have a Twitter account. If you hate Instagram, same thing. You don't need to have an Instagram account. So pick the things that you are comfortable interacting on with your readers, the platforms that you yourself use on a daily basis, maybe with your friends. If you love Instagram and use it for your friends, then turn your Instagram slowly more towards your author practice. Share more book stuff in there. Your friends are going to be interested because they're your friends. So if they're not interested in your business, then they're not your friends anymore. And you might reach new readers through there. So yeah, pick the things that you're comfortable at, stick at that, and don't test more than one or two things at a time.
Yes, I loved that because it reminded me of the scientific method that I learned in high school. You can only change one thing at a time to have any idea which thing is actually making the effect, right?
That's right. Same idea.
Okay. So for instance, in the last few weeks, I've got some changes coming up with some of my writing, some of my books. I'm actually going to relaunch my books as Clean and Wholesome. I realized that I only have 19 swear words in one book and 22 swear words in another, but it's garnered me some 1-star reviews from people who thought they were getting something else. And I was like, well, that's 19 words. I can take out 19 words. Of course, I have to redo the audiobook. That'll take way more time to replace 19 words. But it occurred to me that looking at reader reviews and the sort of feedback that I get from people who do send an email or reply to a newsletter, that I would probably do much better by changing my focus. And so as I've been talking to my readers about this, I've been paying attention to who is responding from where. So even though it isn't marketing per se, I guess promotion really would be the better word. I'm not sure if that's the right word either. But when I'm just in touch with my clients, not something's for sale, but just in communication. And so I'm finding that my Facebook group has like 350 or something followers, and three people actually see what I post, according to each little thing. It says 3 people saw this, 5 people saw that. And I'm thinking, okay, it's just, to me, a total waste of time. I get more people responding to the email newsletter. So that's one of the things that we can look at, right? What's already working, what already seems to be not working, and what we're already doing.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of ways to cultivate a reader base, and for me, that's marketing as well. Marketing encompasses all interaction with readers, whether it's selling the book, communicating afterwards, and that's why I always tell authors that they shouldn't be afraid of marketing, because at the end of the day, marketing is about getting readers to discover your book and then interacting with them. And who doesn't love to hear hopefully good things from readers?
Right, right. And just putting it out there in case other people are like, I don't know, I don't know that how personal I want to be. But I have to say, the most interaction I've gotten is one of my January newsletters where I put a link to a video that my husband did on his phone of me making a snow angel. And so to see a 52-year-old woman dressed in like layers and layers of clothing in Sweden making a snow angel in like 4 centimeters of snow, I don't know. A lot of people clicked on that. It didn't bother me because I am kind of the kind of John says that I really like to be the center of attention. I'm not saying he's wrong, but I don't mind being out there. And then for my Valentine's newsletter, I put a picture up. Oh, I wish I could just like move the door into the frame so people could see it who are watching on YouTube. I did a picture of my office door. My husband had put 14 hearts, one each day from February 1st to February 14th, with all these sweet sayings like, you have the cutest laugh and stuff like that. And I got tons of feedback on that too. And I'm like, okay, people really do want to just get to know and be friends with the people that they love their books. And I guess I wanted to just encourage people. I don't know, if that's something that you've given much thought to, but it's definitely something that I've found to be super helpful for me. And also the people that I always open every single of their emails, like Nick Stevenson, who actually is a writer and also
Mhm.
teaches writers things. Every time he puts in an email about, we just got ducks. Yes, ducks. And I'm just like, okay, I gotta know like why. And I open all of his emails and he always starts with something that he says in a funny way that's personal. And then before the end of the email, he said something about his books or his writing programs or his marketing programs or whatever. And I don't feel like I've been sold to, because
Right.
I'm getting to know Nick the funny guy, as opposed to Nick the guy trying to sell me something.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the great thing nowadays that you can have direct communication with readers, and they're not used to that necessarily, especially in genres that were more traditional before. Um, Probably clean, wholesome romance readers were not used to being able to interact with their authors one-on-one 10 years ago. You couldn't just email your favorite romance author. I mean, you could try to email them, but never answer. You'd get an answer from maybe their agent or an assistant or something like that. Now you get authors, you get the opportunity to tell your authors or your readers directly, hey, this is what I'm doing today. Here's a picture of me, all the stuff that you mentioned, and that establishes a personal relationship. They feel like they know you, and to some of these readers, you're their hero. You're that author who writes these books that they love, and so having that direct connection with you means a lot to them, and that's a great way to turn them into super fans, as we call them. There's a great book on that by David Gogren, Strangers to Super Fans, and he explains like the whole process from I discovering the book, then discovering the other books by the author, starting to know the author, and becoming a super fan of the author. And what you mentioned, yeah, with through these newsletters, you're probably creating super fans and among your readers.
So when people are thinking, oh, marketing, that just sounds scary and I hate it and I don't want to do it, there are things that you can do that will get you kind of started down the road like this, just letting people to know a little bit in your life. They don't need to know your address, your phone number, or the names of your kids, but just fun little things. Now, the other thing, though, that I wanted you to talk about some more is you had this great well, I've heard this before, but so it was a great reminder to me. But if somebody hadn't thought about it, like it's kind of a mind blowing moment when you mentioned that if you look at all the things that it takes for somebody to have first heard about your book, down to the process of actually hitting the buy button, they're looking at your cover and the title and the blurb and different things, and that you possibly could sell way more books by just getting those pieces to be much better than they were before than to get another 1,000 people seeing the book in the first place. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. It's an old adage of business. You know, it's a lot easier to retain 1,000 customers than to gain 1,000 new ones. And I adapted it a little bit to this world of publishing. You're gonna get on a daily basis a few people to view your book pages, whether that's through Amazon recommendations or like retailer recommendations, word of mouth, some of your social media activity, friends of friends, etc. You're going to get that little trickle of traffic, or sometimes it's a big trickle of traffic. So the easiest thing, I mean, the easiest thing, the cheapest thing you can do probably is to tweak that blurb, tweak that cover, add editorial reviews, customize your bio, you're from the author, all these little things on the page that are going to help increase the percentage of people who, after seeing all that, buy the book. And that's paramount, because until you've fixed all those and you've made those the best that they can be, you're basically wasting money throwing ads at the book. If 1 out of 10 people who see your, like 1 out of 100 people who see your book buy it, and I've worked with authors one-on-one for whom it's like 1 in 200, 1 in 300, and you know, we spent a bunch of money on ads, and I told them, hey, we got a great cost per click. We got 1,000 people to visit your book page at 10 cents per click, so we just spent $100. That's fantastic. Except only 2 people bought your book. So you spent $100 and only 2 people bought your book.
Yeah.
Maybe if you fix your cover, 1 out of 10 people are going to buy your book. So you're going to spend $20 and you already have made 2 sales, the same as when you spent $100 before. So that's why all these elements that you mentioned, cover, blurb, editorial reviews, customer reviews, everything that's on the page, even the look inside feature, all the things that factor in the decision of buying the book for the readers are super important. Also because Amazon actually gives more importance to conversion, like the act of buying the book after seeing the page. They give more importance to that than sales themselves. For example, if they see 2 books that have sold 100 copies in the last week, if there's 1 book that sold 100 copies out of 500 people visiting the page, and another book that sold 100 copies out of 10,000 people visiting the page, then Amazon's going to want to promote the one that had the least page views, because they know, okay, this book got, you know, 500 eyeballs on it and it sold 100 copies. So what if I give it 10,000 eyeballs?
Right.
It's going to sell a lot more copies. So Amazon's going to be encouraged to give that book a lot more visibility. So conversion is actually more important than traffic and to sales themselves, which is why it's so important to nail your cover, nail your blurb, make sure that the first customer reviews that you have below the book are positive, because it's easy to get, you know, it's easy to get 50 reviews and an average of 4.5 stars. But what happens a lot of times is that the negative reviews get upvoted a lot by readers because they have more meaningful feedback about the book. So readers are saying, oh, that's helpful. And you end up with like, hey, I've got 50 positive reviews and only 2 negative ones, but the 2 negative ones show at the top of the reviews. So when people start looking at reader reviews, then they just see bad feedback, basically, because no one's going to scroll past the second review if the first 2 are negative. So that's another thing to take into account. A lot of things that constitute a product page on retailers. I've been talking a lot about Amazon, but it's the same on other retailers, and you need to make sure that all these elements are as good as they can be.
And while Amazon is likely to sell the most number of books total if people are selling wide, meaning in all outlets or a lot of outlets, pretty much whatever you can do to make it the best on Amazon or any place else, you just do that same thing across all the outlets, yeah?
That's right, yeah. I mean, some of them are going to have differences. In some stores, you can't, you know, you can use HTML for the blurb, so you're going to have to rework it maybe a little. Each platform has its kinks, but yeah, overall, Amazon is your testing ground because that's where you're going to get the most sales, the most data. So replicate what works on Amazon as closely as possible on the other stores.
Excellent. Now, let's talk a little bit about Reedsy, because a lot of the things that are important in getting to this process where you're selling enough books and you're paying your mortgage and everybody's happy. um, a lot of these things that you need, you can hire someone to do it way better than you could learn to do it yourself on Reedsy. So tell us a little bit about some of you. We mentioned a little bit of it in your bio, but talk to us about some of the different kinds of people who and it's not who I'm going to let you explain, because these people don't work for Reedsy. It's a marketplace. So why don't you explain marketplace and then some of the kinds of people we can find there?
Yeah, sure. As you mentioned, you can do everything as an author, and you shouldn't. First, because you don't have the capacity, and second, because you don't have the skills. I know some authors who are also great at editing, so they do their own editing. I've debated whether that's a good idea or not with them, but for some it works. I know other authors who are graphic designers themselves, so they do their own covers, and that's fine. So as long as you have the skills, the professional skills and the capacity, you can do that. But very few authors are going to have the skills and the capacity to do everything, and none is going to have the capacity to do everything.
Yeah.
So that's why we started the marketplace, as you mentioned, because you're going to need probably to hire an editor, you're going to need to hire a cover designer, you might want to hire someone to write your blurb, a professional copywriter to write your blurb. If you go into translations, you'll need to hire a literary translator. And if you want a website, an author website, you're going to want to hire a website designer and developer. And so with Reedsy, we provide kind of a marketplace with that. So marketplace is a place where it's like a market. You go, there are different stores, and these stores are basically professional freelancers. What makes Reedsy different from other marketplaces out there is that we're very, very careful in the people we allow to be on the marketplace. We accept less than 5% of freelancers who apply to be listed on Reedsy as editors, designers, marketers, etc. For the marketers, I personally have a chat with all the marketers that we add on the marketplace, so I vet them personally and make sure that they have the knowledge to work within the authors directly. So all the people you're going to find on Reedsy are vetted professionals. For the editing side of things, they're going to come generally from traditional publishing, because that's if we're looking to have editors who have 5 to 10 years experience editing. And generally 5 to 10 years experience means having worked at a traditional publisher in the past.
Yeah.
So you're going to find a lot of commissioning editors or editorial assistants at the big five. On Reedsy for cover design, more of the same, though we have quite a few indie specialists for cover design, illustration, marketing. As I mentioned, I vet them directly, literary translation. It's another form of vetting, but yeah, we basically have people who've translated the best books and who are ready and have some experience working within the authors, because it's a different game in translation, working with publishers and indie authors directly. So yeah, a lot of work goes into the curation and the vetting, so that you can be sure that whenever you hire someone on Reedsy for whatever that is, you can be 99% certain that you're going to get the best job possible.
Excellent. Okay. So the way that I see it as a customer, potential customer, is there are two things that I'm going to Reedsy for. One is because I just wanted to look around and see what's available. And then I start finding this free bit of help and that free bit of help. And then I'm like, yeah, I'm totally going to sign up for your newsletter so I can hear about all the other kinds of free help that's available. And the other thing is when I'm thinking, oh my gosh, my cover designer, had a baby and she's not doing anything for the next 9 months, and I can't wait that long for a cover. So I'm going directly to the cover area. What are some of the ways that that people can figure out, because there is so much there? Like, what are a couple of ways that you would suggest that people go to Reedsy who haven't been there before and just kind of see what they can use today?
Yeah, that's one of our main problems, that we offer a lot of different stuff, most of it for free, and so it's hard to feature all of it in a nice way. We're redesigning the product right now to integrate all our resources better. But I think right now the best thing you can do is to go to reedsy.com or reedsy.com and look at the top menu, the things in the top menu, and just look at the titles. The things that are bigger and in color are most of our bigger programs, like Reedsy Learning. And then you can try to guess what these things are. Reedsy Learning, it's about learning. It's our collection of free courses. So everything you're going to see is free except for when you hire people on the marketplace, obviously, and our program Reedsy Discovery. These are the only two paid things on Reedsy. Everything else is free. So Reedsy Learning, free courses, Reedsy Live, free webinars on YouTube. Then Reedsy Book Editor, that's a book writing and editing and formatting tool. So
right.
A very lightweight version of Vellum, but works on any browser. So you don't need a Mac, and it's free. So a great a great tool for anyone who hasn't purchased Vellum and needs to format their books. And it's going to get even better in the next few weeks.
Oh,
so,
excellent.
Yeah.
I want to come back to that, but keep
okay.
going.
But yeah, have a look through the top menu, click on stuff. Everything meaningful is going to be in that top menu.
Excellent. Very good. And then when they sign up for your newsletter, they're getting information about new things that are available on Reedsy, when the free webinars are and what the topics are, about your new book that's coming out, that actually is now out and is free as an ebook download. These are the things that they're getting out of the newsletter as well, right?
That's right. The best way to sign up to a newsletter is sign up to the product. So you go to reedsy.com and you click on sign up. And then you're going to have tick boxes that ask you, okay, do you want to get newsletters about this, about writing, about publishing, about marketing, about design? So if you're just interested in marketing, you tick marketing and you'll only get my newsletters. So I'll be happy. And if you're not at the marketing stage yet, then you just tick writing and publishing and you won't get my newsletters, but maybe you'll choose to get them in the future.
Or you can tick all the boxes and get a lot of emails.
That's what I do.
All right. Yeah. That sounds like what I would do too. Now, there's possibly people listening who they don't have a ton of experience in this yet. And I emphasize yet. It's a long business career. And they might be thinking, okay, this is great. There's a lot of editors who sound like they could be the right editor for me, and a lot of cover designers, even if I've narrowed it down to 6. I know that these are not your employees, so you can't necessarily point and go, I suggest that you go with this one, but you probably have some way of giving people ideas on how to choose if you've never hired anyone like this before.
Yeah, we have some resources on that on our blog. I think, so first, it's rare that you get 5 quotes from, the maximum number of quotes you can get is 5, because we need a balance on the marketplace. If editors or designers spend their time offering quotes and they only get 1 in like 100, then they're going to leave the marketplace. Because these people are getting work elsewhere as well. They're not like dependent on Reedsy. And the maximum number of quotes you can get is 5. It's rare that you get 5 quotes because, let's face it, your book's not going to interest everyone. So you might get 1 or 2 declines from people who are not necessarily interested in working on your book. Others might be too busy or not be able to meet your deadline. Some of our editors are booked up to 6 or 12 months in advance. Wow. So they're editors who are basically there for repeat clients, who get on their calendar, who get on their schedules very, very early on. So if you get those 5 quotes, then that's great. You've got a lot of options. Some things that you could base your decision on is obviously price. But also, I think a lot of authors have a really strong feeling about who they want to hire early on because of the first interactions. Okay. Pick the freelancers who showed the most interest in your book. If it's for editing, the freelancers who gave you a sample already, who read your first chapter and gave you their thoughts on the first chapter, who said, okay, I think your writing style is closer to this and that, to authors that I worked with. Basically, yeah, the editors or the freelancers who seem the most interested in working with you, and generally it's an easy choice to make.
All right, that's good, because what you're going to probably end up with then is somebody who is nearly as excited about what you're doing as you, and you don't have to explain your work to them. Yeah,
that's right.
Awesome.
That's right.
Cool. All right, let's come back real quick. There's a couple more questions I want to ask you. So I have a Mac. I use Vellum mostly because it's just easier. I taught myself InDesign so that I could, do my books, and And there are things that I can do in InDesign that I prefer, but Vellum is so much faster that lately, when I have more books, it's just easier. However, it is a problem because, if I use it for a client, then they suddenly are and they're a Windows client, then they're suddenly kind of stuck in a place where they need to either have somebody else, they need to hire someone, to use
Yeah.
Vellum, or they need to have their book completely reformatted if it, years go by or something. So let's talk about, is there I think that you gave a name to the program. Is it just called the book editor?
Yeah, Reedsy Book Editor. We're still
Okay.
looking for a better name, so if anyone has suggestions, let us
Good.
know. But yeah, right now it's called the Reedsy Book Editor.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about it, so that people understand why they're going to go there and use it, because it sounds like a great product. I fiddled around with it a little bit once when I was like in a hotel room in between things, but I was like, wow, this is pretty quick and easy. And this was a long time ago, so you probably made improvements. So
Yeah, definitely. It's one of the products we're most excited about for the future, because there are a lot of features coming, but it already solves a lot of problems. So first, we get a lot of people writing in it, just because it's a very clean writing interface. So you've got chapters on the left, you can drag and drop them around. So maybe you can have your outline in there. What I did when I put my book is I just put the titles of all the chapters in there, and then I moved them around based on the final structure I wanted for my book. You can create parts as well for nonfiction, which is pretty helpful, and it can be great for organizing. Great writing interface. You can hide the sidebar, so it's just like white screen and you typing in there, no distractions. And the great thing is when you're done writing, you've got track changes and comments as well. So the only thing is you can't really share it with anyone else unless you share your Reedsy login details right now. But yeah, that's one of the features that's coming soon, is the ability of sharing this with editors on Reedsy, or co-authors, or editors outside Reedsy, so they can work with the track changes and the commenting, and it's going to make it a lot better than working on Word. And then you can format and export, and that's what we've had since the very beginning, and works really well. You just hit export, and you can choose to export to either ebook, so EPUB and Mobi, or a print-ready PDF. You have a few customizable things, like whether you want drop caps, where you want the end notes, few customizable things in the table in the front matter as well. And you choose from 3 templates. So also we're looking to add more templates, but right now we've got a fiction, a nonfiction, and a romance one. And that's it. You export the book. You're not going to be able, so the things that Vellum has that Reedsy Book Editor doesn't have is options to add like custom chapter headings with flowery things, flowery corners, and fancy formatting options that a lot of authors love, and that I personally think readers don't necessarily care much about. It's more a cool thing for the author to be able to say, hey, look how beautiful my EPUB file looks.
yeah,
And
that's
then
so
the
true,
reader's reading
Jose.
it on their Kindle, and they don't really care there are flowers in the corners,
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, that's what we don't have.
Yeah, yeah, I have to say it is so true. As an author, I get so excited, but as a reader, the only thing I notice is whether or not anything keeps me from reading the book. Otherwise, I kind of don't care. It's very funny because I wear
Yeah.
both hats, but the one person, the writer in me, doesn't seem to talk to the reader in me, going, "No one cares, Kitty."
No, but that's what makes Vellum so great. I think authors rave about Vellum because it gives them a lot of all these options, and at the end of the day, it's your book, it's your baby, so you want it to look as nice as possible.
Yeah.
And I don't know, people who have babies, who dress them up for special occasions and then take pictures of them. It's really for you that you're doing it. It's not for other people to see your nice baby. They're
Yeah.
not necessarily going to care as much. So it's really important, even if it's just self-gratification. It is important.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because we're creative people. So the idea that somebody's
Definitely.
letting us be a little bit more creative just makes us happy.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. So, the other thing I wanted to talk about before we leave is the process of writing your first book. So, you wrote nonfiction. Tell us about some of the highs and lows, some of the things that you were like, why am I doing this? And some of the things that you were like, this is the coolest thing. Why haven't I done it sooner? We don't get a ton of nonfiction authors on, and there are people listening who either have already written some or have been kicking around the idea. So, start wherever you like with that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's an interesting writing process because I've had this idea of writing a book for several years now, maybe 3, 4 years. And at first, what I tried to do is, start from page one and write a book. It was going to be on Facebook ads, so I wanted to put all my knowledge on Facebook ads for authors in there. And so I started writing, and I got to maybe 5,000 words, and then I realized that, hey, actually, this outline doesn't really work. So I changed the outline, and so I restarted writing, and then something else came up, a new product launch at Reedsy maybe, and then I went on holiday. I'm not going to be writing while I'm on holiday, like, it's my free time. And then when I went back, I found out some new stuff about Facebook. So I thought, yeah, this outline doesn't work anymore. And so that book never came to life, basically. So instead, I said, okay, I took example from David Gogran, and he started a weekly marketing newsletter, and that was something that had been on my mind for a while. And we actually took advantage of GDPR. When GDPR came in, everyone was sending these newsletters. Give us your consent, GDPR, this, that, and we send a newsletter saying, okay, we're not going to do the usual GDPR thing because we have consent from all of you, but you can subscribe here. But what we're going to do is we're going to split our newsletters. So we're going to have our usual writing, publishing newsletters. We're also adding a weekly marketing newsletter by our co-founder Ricardo that you can sign up to here. And by that point onwards, I was bound to readers of the newsletter to write a newsletter every week of around 500 to 1,000 words, sometimes more. And that made me go into a very, very slow writing routine, but a writing routine nonetheless, of writing a little bit every week. It was on marketing in general. And so this year I thought, okay, I'm going to take another crack at writing this Facebook ads book. I tried, I failed, and then I said, hey, I've got all these newsletters. So why don't I just, the material's there already, so I don't have to start from page one, page zero.
Yeah.
I can just repurpose the newsletters, also because I get a lot of people asking me, can you resend me that edition from like 2 years ago where you were talking about Amazon ads? And I have to go fish that edition, take the link, send it to them. So I thought I'm going to put all that in a book. Turns out it's a lot more work because I had to find an actual structure for the book, rewrite a lot of things, write a lot of new chapters. But at least what I found personally is like working from something that was half done already, where it was moving stuff around and filling in the blanks, was a lot easier than starting from a blank page. But that's my experience. And for the next book, I really dread it because either I start a newsletter about just Amazon ads, or I'm going to have to write a book about Amazon ads from scratch. So we'll see. That's what worked for me.
Yeah. And I like this idea about the newsletter because I know I've actually had at least 3 clients myself where they've come to me and said, I've got 200 or 300 blog posts or emails, and I know that there's a book in here, but I'm not exactly sure how to find the book and then create the book out of it without it looking like a book of blog posts.
Yeah.
But so I'm guessing that you and just about anyone else, we could just add something about the topic of the book that we want to write in the emails that we're already writing.
Yeah, absolutely. You just need to find the right structure for the book afterwards. But I purposefully, I've chosen a very niche topic for a newsletter. It's about book marketing. And at some point I was running out of things to say about book marketing, even though there's always new stuff that comes up. And then you pick the newsletters that are evergreen and those that aren't. Our newsletter, we're always talking about like 3 things I learned from this conference that happened, 3 years ago. It's not an evergreen newsletter, but a newsletter where I was talking about the importance of customer reviews and the thing that we talked about earlier. Then that's evergreen. That's always going to be there. Yeah. Maybe Amazon's changed how they display those reviews a little bit, so I'll have to change the screenshots. But I'll definitely going to be able to repurpose that newsletter. So yeah, if you want to follow that example, then pick a niche topic that you ultimately know you can write a book about, and a book that's going to have some market appeal, and go for it.
So I'm thinking about your Amazon book. It's possible then that you would have to come up with the material and get the book out in a much shorter period of time because it's a changing topic.
Yeah, that's the annoying thing. This book already, I'm gonna have to update every couple months or so, because I mean, just to give you an example, from the time I'd finished from the time I sent the book to some people, some ARC readers, some advanced readers, and the time I published it, Amazon changed how they handle series. So before you had to reach out to KDP support to get your series page. Now you can create your series page in the KDP bookshelf. So I had to rewrite and update that. It's a small thing, but maybe tomorrow KU payouts are going to change, or the sales rank calculations are going to change, popularity list is going to change. Things change all the time,
Yeah.
so I'm going to have to update this very often. And that's why there isn't an audiobook, and there will never be an audiobook. I'm sorry. It's
Yeah.
either I update the book or I don't update it, and you get an audiobook that's going to be full of deprecated info in 2 years. So
Yeah.
yeah, a book on Amazon ads. It would be a lot more about stuff that's more the philosophy of Amazon ads than getting deep into screenshots. And first you click here, and then you click there, and then you do this, because that's obviously going to change the philosophy of Amazon ads overall. Maybe it's going to change, but it's going to change a lot much slower.
Yeah. So there are several really great tips there for people who are thinking about or in the process of writing a nonfiction book. First of all, the idea that you can create a book that is full of great information that people want, that is probably not going to change because it is not specific and, step one,
Right.
2, 3. And you can make this book a free book that leads people to your business, which is what you've done with your first one. And another thing that you said was you could create a book that does need to be updated more regularly, and you know that you're going to commit to doing that. Therefore, this book is going to cost more, because it's almost like, in that way, it almost ends up being slightly subscription based. Like if you have to update that book 2 or 3 times a year, then people need to be able to pay for the time that you're putting into it. So that book, instead of being free, might be $9.99 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then the third thing that I picked up from that is, if you're going to write about a changing topic that you expect that you will actually be writing updates for your book, then an audiobook may not be the best use of your resources.
That's right. Yeah. I hadn't thought about the audiobook at first, but then when people started asking me about it, then I realized there's no way this can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are great tips. This is really helpful.
Thank you.
Awesome. Wow. Okay. So much information. I feel like everybody can just like pause and make notes and go to the website. And so definitely we want people to pick up this book, How to Market a Book, Overperform in a Crowded Market. Why don't you tell us, where can people find Reedsy, your book, and any social media following that they can do?
Sure. So the book can be found on any retailer. Just search for How to Market a Book on any retailer, and it should pop up if we did our SEO right. For Reedsy, reedsy.com, as I mentioned, and use the top bar to just find out everything that we do. There are a lot of things. And in terms of social media following, I don't do a lot of social media, so just drop me an email. My email address is very easy to guess. It's ricardo@reedsy.com. So feel free to drop me an email. I'll always answer, and I spend a lot more time on email than I do on Twitter or on Facebook or on any of the social media. So you'll get a faster response from me there.
Oh, it's so generous. Thank you so much for that.
My pleasure.
This has been super fun, Ricardo. And you and I didn't have to talk in the rain, which is great.
That was a nice point. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, one of the things that you said in the email was, since you and I are in the same time zone, which hardly happens for either one of us, both of us get to talk in daylight, not at night.
I know. I think last podcast I ended, they were saying, are you a little bit tired? And I was like, yeah. Yeah, I'm
Yes.
a little bit tired. I'm sorry that's coming across, but it's
Yeah.
good to be doing something in broad daylight.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. We really appreciate it. This was great information, and I'm sure people are thrilled to be getting it. So thank you.
No, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.